We're just having a chat for those that arrive early, see how things are going. And good morning. Thank you for joining us. You're on mute. If you want to unmute, go to the chat bar and then there'll be a
Oh,
thing
there
called
we are.
unmute.
Yes.
Unmute. Good, good. How are you doing?
Good, good. Yeah, I've been busy with work that in the U.S. market was interesting, which keeps me going. Things are starting to open up a little bit more down there. So yeah, so far so good.
Do you work from home a lot or?
Yes,
Really?
it's all of it is remote, is all online, and a lot of these meetings, Zoom meetings, team meetings, WebEx. I mean, every kind of platform. I think there's so many of
Yeah.
them, but it's all virtual. But I
Yeah.
did that before too.
Yeah. Yeah. But what I find is it's the blend. Before you at least get out, you meet clients. Some people will accept a phone call, but now it seems everybody has to see each other, right? So you can't walk around to get some, some exercise, so to speak.
Well, and then you have to know what to wear. Like in the morning, it's like, okay, am I having a call in the morning? Because sometimes you don't want to put makeup on, right? And
Yeah. I
so,
know.
okay, oh no. And or if they want an impromptu meeting, I want a meeting now. Let's do it now. Let's do Zoom. Oh, wait a second.
I always put makeup on now if I have even
Yes.
one remote meeting.
Yeah.
We're just unmuting if you'd like to join us. We're just kind of getting to know how people are doing pre-COVID. So we're going to start about 2 after 10. So got 5 minutes. If you want to unmute and share, please do. Just asking people how things are. Cole, looks like you want to kind of share something.
Yeah, I'm based out of Toronto. So I kind of work in HR consulting as well. So kind of looking at new avenues on how I can help clients and things like that after reopening, because things have been kind of slow. So, kind of seeing what's going to be happening going forward.
Are you in your own consulting business?
Yeah.
Yep.
So we just started recently, so it's been already kind of slow. Yeah.
When did you start?
Like mid last year. So yeah.
Yeah, it is tough. At first I thought, oh, what are we going to do? We're going to wait around for 3 months, 4 months. And then I thought, wait a minute, I'm in HR. I can help.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I started these bi-weekly webinars.
Oh,
Been
awesome.
very, very busy though.
Okay.
Trying to stay abreast of everything that's happening and then being able to communicate it, but know it enough that you can communicate it around. I really don't know. Anybody else want to share what's happening, what's foremost in your mind, or a little bit about yourself? We're going to start at 2 minutes after 10. I have with me my two associates, Diane Matthew and Jenny Ho. They're helping me make sure this runs smoothly and providing some of the background research that we need to do to present on a day like today. Anybody else want to share a little bit about who they are, or just keep chiming in, or Oriana, if you've got more to share?
Yeah, no, just an introduction of what I do. My business is called Strategic Matters, and it's primarily it's marketing and business development. So the work that I've been doing more so has actually been more on opportunities like, hey, I've got a new idea. I've got, like in the US company I'm working with now, they've got some new products, and we're investigating, the size of the market, the opportunity, and all that. So, yeah, so a little bit slower now, of course, with the environment, but still getting some work with one major client down there. So, thankfully.
Anybody else want to come forward and share just a little bit about yourself or a major concern that you're having with COVID-19 in your business? We are going to start in 2 minutes to be respectful of people's time, but I might, like myself, probably you're scrambling at the last 2 minutes before 10, trying to find the things so you finally get on, and it's usually 1 or 2 minutes after. So we will wait another 2 minutes.
I just see yourself, Hilda, on video. Everyone else kind of just their name.
I think everybody has just decided not to show their face.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But are you seeing the speaker screen, or are you looking at the gallery screen?
I'm seeing probably the gallery because I see everybody's names in
Yeah,
squares,
they've
but I
chosen
see a
not
gray
to turn
background.
on their videos.
Okay.
At first, I think we saw a mix, and then less and less people, and I think it's because maybe that day they really don't, they didn't want to put their makeup on, or
Yeah.
I think for some people, and I've had Laura Williams is a great HR lawyer, and she was doing a presentation, and we see her in our HR spheres, and she said, "This picture of me is all you're getting today, ladies. I have, I've been binge eating." She didn't quite use it that way, but you knew that she's like, "I got a few more pounds on me," but that's what she
Yeah.
said. And then
She
said,
said
"And
doomsday eating.
doomsday eating." Thank you, Jenny. Like you knew what that
Yeah.
meant. And then
Get
she talked about the coloring of her hair kind of needed something. So she said, "This is it. This is what you're getting."
it. So true.
Somebody said that she would love to probably come forward, but she has a permanent sticker over her webcam. So
Yeah,
she's
Heather
laughing.
just commented. Yeah.
We love the Heather view there. Okay, Heather. Okay, we've got 1 more minute, and I will get started very, very soon.
So Hilda, I may get a phone call. So I may, if I drop off, it's nothing. I mean, I absolutely want to stay around as long as I can. But if you see me drop off, I just because I have a phone call I've got to handle. So
That's for everybody. She didn't leave because she was bored.
right. Just want to.
Thank you. You didn't need to say that, but thank you very much. Okay, it is 2 minutes after 10, and I want to welcome everybody to COVID-19 Tough Decisions for Business Owners. This is our episode number 14. What we typically do is we'll talk for about 30 minutes, and then 15 minutes will be left for questions. I do encourage you, if you think of things during the talk, put them in the chat line. If you would prefer to have a question that's more anonymous, you can email that or text that to Jenny Ho directly, and she will then come forward and share your questions. I encourage people to chat during the presentation as things come, because I think we learn from each other. And just before we started today, I kind of opened it up so people could talk a little bit about themselves, introduce themselves, or share what's top of mind. So I'd like to start that chat by saying, what is top of mind for you and your business? Is it a concern for safety? Is it a concern for a reopening? Is it cash flow? Just one or two words that state the kind of concerns that you have. So let me get started and share my slides with you. Okay. Oops, just a second. All right. So as I said, welcome to COVID-19 Tough Decisions for Business Owners. This is episode 14. Are you ready to reopen your business? We started this webinar series actually 1 week after our province, which is Ontario, created emergency measures, and we were all set to self-isolation, as well as only essential services were open. And we created the webinar series really to help managers and business owners and HR decision makers, providing them with information, tips, and strategies to help them with COVID decisions that they had to make. If you like us and you want to tag us, we have at PeopleBright and hashtag COVID-19 TDBO, which stands for Tough Decisions for Business Owners. So please, if you like us and you want to share, please put us on your social media mentions. A little bit about myself. I am the founder and president of PeopleBright Consulting, and I'm creator of Connect with Rev Up, which I'll share a little bit more during the presentation what that is. My husband and I were actually co-founders of a company called iTrans Consulting. We were an engineering firm, and it started off as 2 people, but it actually grew to 125 employees in 7 offices across Canada. It was an amazing journey for my husband and I, because we wanted to create a company that was unique or special. And special meaning that we wanted our engineers to feel they were really progressing in their career in a way they probably dreamed of. I wish I could do this, I wish I could do that by this age. And so that's what we did. We stimulated their careers in a way that they felt was valued and they wanted to grow. And the other thing we wanted to do was create a workplace that was really strong, that people cared about each other. We worked really good as a team. And we thought we had achieved that, so that we actually put our names forward for best workplaces in Canada. And it was really nice to confirm that's what we thought actually was. And we were recognized as a top 10 twice during the time that we had our company. So of all the things that I love to do, it was the human resources side. So that's when I founded People Bright Consulting after we sold our business. My experience is extensive, very broad. I started my career as a nurse, so I have a background in healthcare and human resources, and being in engineering for over 17 years, that's a strong experience that I have as well. I also work with professional services firms. I did some experience in the IT world for about 4 years, and I have worked a lot with not-for-profits. So today what we're planning to do is we're planning to talk about reopening. And I'm going to share a little bit about frameworks. I will talk about what assumptions people are doing as provinces as they open, and some of those general principles that you need to keep in mind for yourselves as you understand what the provinces are expecting. Then I'll talk about, as we reopen, what kind of strategies do you need to think about to meet the guidelines, to think about safety, adaptability, the supplies and other processes that you need to think about, and communicating a marketing and market planning. I want to talk about communication and creating a positive work culture. Since I'm an HR specialist, I do want to give you examples and focus in that area. Remind you of your role as business owners and some of the things that you need to think about as you're building your business or planning to reopen your business. And then just to re-summarize those 5 key requirements needing to reopen, and to share how we can help you. So I'm going to go through these slides quickly, but we do provide you with a PDF of the slides, and then you also have access to YouTube, the presentation. So I want to share with you these slides so that you have them handy when you get the slides. Each of the provinces has a recovery plan. They are starting to think about it. Some are more formed than others, and at least what they're doing is helping you start to think and prepare. It may be next week, it may be already now, but these are some of the provinces. So these 2 slides are really sharing you all the links. One of the things I will share with you is I'll point out that Saskatchewan has a very good link in that it's really detailed. So if you want to get hints and strategies on how to open, I would go to that source document and look at it. It may give you ideas for yourself of what you need to think about and do. Each of the provinces now is outlining what they're planning to do. So I'm from the province of Ontario, and I wanted to share what Quebec is doing, since they have been one of the first provinces to open, and what Ontario has done. So Quebec was really eager, even though their statistics are high. Half of the COVID-19 numbers come from Quebec, and then the other half comes from the rest of Canada. So it's really interesting that even though their numbers are high, they are the ones that are opening first. So on May 4th, non-essential stores outside of Montreal opened. And then they were going to have May 11th, the rest of the Montreal city open, but they now have delayed that. The manufacturing construction sector is actually opening as scheduled next week. Elementary schools were supposed to open in the Quebec province, but the Montreal was going to open a week later. But now they've delayed that to May 25th. Regardless of what is happening, whichever province, all public safety measures must be adhered to. In Ontario, the Premier announced that on Friday, May the 8th, nursery and gardens are opening, and he specifically commented that, and so for Mother's Day, you may want to go to the nursery and pick out some nice flowers for your mother. And I thought, well, that's a nice little commercial. On Saturday, May 9th, safety supply and hardware will open, and essential construction. So those that have targeted deadlines, I guess, is defined as essential. On Monday, May the 11th, retail with street entrance curbside pickup can resume. Emergency measures, though, in general, will continue to May 19th. So things are works in progress and things are changing all the time. But again, he also says all public measures, safety measures must be adhered to. So do take a look at those references. One of the things that I will share is this is Ontario's, but it's typically the same, regardless of the province that you live in or in any country. Every government is saying there are stages, whether it's 1 to 3, 1 to 5, and it's starting by opening small. You know, let us open small gatherings of 5 people and then expand to 10 people and expand further. The reason for that is they are monitoring the spread. And I think this slide, next slide, help. What they want to do is they want to make sure as they open, they're responsible, because safety is still a major concern. As I said, I worked in the healthcare sector. I was actually an ICU nurse when I first started my career. So I understand the epidemiology of how the disease spreads. And the difficulty with COVID is it's so different than the regular flus. It's so unpredictable. They're only beginning to understand what impact it has. So they want to be responsible. They don't want this epidemic to to get worse afterwards. So baby steps. You can always pull back. So start with baby steps. Start with just small businesses and go forward. They want to do it evidence-based, so they're going to keep track of those numbers. So monitoring is really important, and to be fluid, to be responsive and effective. When they see the numbers go up, they'll pull back. So they may go from stage 1 to 2, but then back to 1. So you'll see that it's a work in progress, so to speak. Resources, they want to make sure there's adequate resources. So for example, in the case of Montreal, the reason they didn't open Montreal is because they're looking at the resources. Do they have enough beds to care, and enough people to care for the people who get COVID-19, who may need ventilators? So that's what resources mean. And to be clear, to really communicate effectively. So this is a framework for Ontario. Other provinces may have other frameworks. They're fairly similar in that they want to be responsive and they need to look at the numbers as they pull back. So do you have what you need to reopen? What do you need? And that's what the focus of the rest of this presentation is, with questions and answers. I do remind you that if you have questions, to put them on the chat line and to share them. So some people who have been regulars watching will notice this particular slide that I share. COVID-19 is a crisis of pandemic proportion and so unpredictable that it really has caused the world to figure out what to do. And I'm Asian, as you can tell, and in our language, we write by characters, but the characters are symbolic of things. So in actual fact, the word crisis is composed of 2 different characters. The first one is danger, and the second one is opportunity. So when you do have a crisis, you do have an element of danger, but you also have an element of opportunity. And I think that that's a really interesting concept, because one thinks of crisis as panic and really not being a positive thing. But this character crisis shows you that there's a good and a bad, the yin and the yang, if you follow the Asian part of me further. So what I want to share is, I'll start with the opportunity first. Oftentimes I will talk about the danger, but I think this is an opportunity for you to get the strategies right. And I've got a little dashboard here because I think there's 5 areas where you can think about the strategies that you need. First of all, whichever country, province that you live in, you need to meet the guidelines. And depending where you live, the guidelines will be your country, so in our case, Canada, your province, in my case, Ontario, and then local. You may have municipalities, you may have a city that you belong to, and they may have specific guidelines. So as a business owner, as a consultant in practice, you need to understand what all of those guidelines are for you in your business. And the government would also share what the general guidelines are for all businesses. And then they would be sector specific. So if you happen to be in this construction area, this is a sector specific guideline. Or if you're a hairdresser, this is a sector specific guideline, or a restaurant, or whatever field you're in. Drill down to your sector specific guideline to figure out. You have an opportunity to think about safety and get safety right. And I think this is an area where I have a concern, because when the other larger communities open up, like Loblaws or other big grocery stores or pharmacists, they were part of a big franchise, a big organization. So they had safety specialists, they had HR people who could do the education, they had financial analysts who could figure out the number crunching. If you're a sole proprietor or you only have 5 people, you now have to be the expert in all those areas to make sure you meet the guidelines, that you ensure proper precautions for staff, clients, and customers. So do read those specific guidelines for your sectors. Look up what is expected for public health safety and walk it through. Imagine yourself, okay, this is my staff. How are my staff feeling? How would I feel? And what do I need to do to make them safe in the workplace? This is my client walking through my organization or connecting with me. What do I need to do to make sure they're safe? So you need to address, first of all, the return to work for your employees and the safety aspect of that. Then you need to think about those day-to-day operations, both from the client side and the staff side. You need to think about screening and cleaning processes. And I think you can take your hint from the existing essential service workers. You know, when I go shopping now, I've got plexiglass. I've even got my keypad that is covered in plastic, gets wiped down regularly. Things like that. Those will give you hints for yourself. What do you need to do from a workflow perspective? And then I think the key thing, because in talking to some of my clients, they don't think about what happens if somebody has a fever. You need to make sure you educate your staff and even your clients that if they have symptoms, they should not be coming into your workplace. And what do they need to do? And what do you need to do? Because what happens if somebody says, I think I might have COVID, I'm going to stay home. Now you have a potential for all of those staff that worked that particular time period that person was on to also then be on isolation. What is your contingency plan then if all of a sudden your workforce drops by 20% or you have no workforce anymore? So think about that from a safety perspective. I think if anything, COVID has taught us to be adaptable. And we need to be prepared for change, and this new normal is coming. So in other sessions, I've talked about thinking about the future. So even as you're opening now, you need to think about what does that future look like? You can react for today, and certainly that's good, but try to visualize a little bit into the future as well. I think what it's taught us, though, that you don't need to get it right, you don't need to get it perfect, and tweaking is good. But do plan, think about that future as you're planning. Be proactive with supporting your staff, supporting your clients, because people are undergoing a lot of change. There's a lot of fear out there. I know some days my positivity is really high, and sometimes it's neutral, and sometimes I just want to go and, hunker down and not see the world for a couple of hours. But do acknowledge that what other people are going through. And if you need to think about, what am I going through? So they may be going through something similar. Not the same, because we're all unique, but something similar. Are they a parent? You know, do they have school-age children, or do they have young adults? Do they support an elderly population? They're parents who are now in their 80s or 70s or whatever. You need to think about those people and decide, what do I need to do to help my staff or my clients? Section number 4 talks about assessing supply, space, and additional costs. So these are things that you should be thinking about. The PPEs. So these are your face masks. This is your hand sanitizer. You know, are you going to provide gloves? Some people are doing thermometer checks. So you need to find out in your jurisdiction if you're legally allowed to do that, not do that, if that's part of the guidelines. You need to think about your own company and the stock and inventory that you need. I know one of my friends said, oh, we were so looking forward to Chinese food, Hilda, and we thought we ordered from the same place we normally do, but we phoned a different place, and it looked like the food had been around for a while, so we actually tasted a bit of the soup and we knew that it was off, and we just threw everything away. So as a business owner, you need to kind of anticipate how many people now are going to come, and to make sure you have adequate, but not overstock, especially if it's going to, you know, spoil. So think about those. What about what you are going to supply? Some places I've walked into have actually supplied gloves for me as I go grocery shopping, and others, you know, have supplied face masks or hand sanitizer. So these are the kinds of things you need to think about as you're reopening. Reconfigure your space to accommodate social distancing, capacity, and staff scheduling are concepts that you could have staggered shifts. And think about, like, even the kitchen. Are people going to be using the kitchen, and are you training them to clean the kitchen afterwards? That's a safety measure, but you need to think about it. If that's what they're going to do, how much hand sanitizer or wipes am I going to have? The fifth point, and I think the most important, not the most, one of the most important parts, because I think safety is number one, is communicating and your marketing plan. As you go forward, what do you want your clients and staff to remember about what your business was during COVID? Were you one of those that supported your community, that helped and cared for your staff, your clients, your community? Figure out that brand message and stay on track. I think our government in Canada and in Ontario have stayed on track with their messaging. And the message is safety first. We need to social distance to make sure as a country we put COVID-19 in check so that we can move forward. It means we have to stay in the social safe distancing for a while, but that will help save many more lives than we've already lost by doing that. So safety first, family second, and finances third. And that's what the government's messaging in both our province and in Canada have done. They have provided us with financial support so that we can focus on taking care of our family. So figure out what your brand message is. And when you send emails to your clients, to your staff, when you talk to your staff and talk to your clients, stay on point with the brand message. It could be 3 simple things that you think about as you do that. Are you going to offer promotions? You know, we're offering a promotion, which I'll share at the end, about what we want to do to give back to our community, because our community is about people who are in the workplace, and that's business owners, HR decision makers, and employees. So, as I said, in Chinese, crisis means opportunity and danger. So I want to share the risks that you are going to have if you don't get this right. For meeting the guidelines, if you don't get it right, you can get penalties and fines. And in some cases, you can actually be shut down. And definitely, if the world hears about this, that your reputation will be impacted. Safety is another concern. Refusing to return to work will be one of the safety concerns that you have. Let me just share in the province of Ontario that the a couple of weeks ago, the number of people said that they did not want to return to work due to safety was about 243 employees. When that happens, you need to know the guidelines. You need to have a safety, if you have a safety committee because you have that certain size of employees, or you have a safety officer, and that size starts at 5 people, by the way, then you need to call the Minister of Labor, and they will come in to do a safety inspection. In all of those 243 inquiries, so that you know, there were no shutdowns. They did not say, nope, you're absolutely right, employee, this is an unsafe place and I'm shutting it down. So there have been no shutdowns. There might have been minor, you need to make sure you have, sanitizer. You need to make sure you do whatever. So there may be some suggestions for improvements, but no shutdowns. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that. Customers who may not want to come. So I think make sure you provide effective communications for this. And some people may just want to wait a couple of weeks until things settle in and they see the numbers, because let's face it, we're all going to be concerned that we don't want to get this COVID-19, because we don't know how it's going to be with us, because it's been very interesting, the kinds of responses that people are having. The last thing I want to share, and this one is a serious consequences, is what happens when somebody actually gets COVID-19. And the serious consequence is that it could impact on the number of people that you have working, because now they have to go on quarantine. But the other thing is, what happens if somebody dies and they feel that it was directly related to being at your workplace, at your business? And that can result in legal actions required or taken by that family if they've lost a loved one. So really, really make sure as you're opening, you're managing the safety of your employees and your clients. The adaptability, if you stagnate, it will impact on your business and the success of your business. So everything that we've been hearing and the experiences of previous circumstances that were crisis-like, whether it was SARS or whether it was the 2008-2009 recession, those companies that did not move forward in a progressive way and just kind of hunkered down or really protected the current business, once the business started to build, they were behind. And those colleagues and competitors that positioned themselves or started to do something even during COVID-19 or in the past situations, they were the ones that succeeded. And 2 or 3 years later, those people that hunkered down and were stagnant were a shadow of their former selves. Sony was a great example of that. They took a very conservative stance, and 2 to 3 years later, Sony became, like an also ran rather than one of the leaders of the pack. For access supplies and additional costs, you need to think about wastage of supplies. You need to make sure that as a business, you don't waste your supplies, that you have inadequate PPEs for safety, because what happens, business will still run as usual, and you don't want to have the lack of PPEs. So you may want to start getting a hold of those PPEs that you need, because they're not as easy to find. Particularly, I know alcohol. I've been looking for alcohol since February, because we use alcohol in our house and I can't find it. But fortunately, I was able to get some. And then the loss of profits, you need to make sure you estimate your costs and don't underestimate the costs. Communication, if you don't communicate effectively, it can be a strain on your staff relationships, your brand may be tarnished, and you may lose customers. Your role as a manager, a business owner, even an HR decision maker is where you have many hats. You are a leader, you are a manager, you're ensuring the financial health of your company. You're all of a sudden now an expert, or need to be an expert on how to manage people. There are so many changes that you as an HR manager need to understand, and need to understand the ramifications of when I lay off people, when I return people, what is the legislation? in Ontario, when you lay somebody off, if you don't have it in your contract with them, you could be, it could be considered constructive dismissal. So understanding the legal ramifications of some of the things that you are doing, not doing, the risk that imposes on you as a company, and how you can mitigate that. You need to be an IT guru. How many people now have learned how to use Zoom? Some people knew it before, but some people were learning. The security of your organization, particularly with COVID coming, COVID-19 and people resuming work. That safety is really important, and the security of your staff and your clients. Mental health, your own mental health and the mental health of your staff. Because if people are overstressed, they cannot function, they cannot focus, and they cannot be productive. People are your greatest asset, and that's what People Bright really believes in. That's what iTrans really believed in, and it pays to invest in your people, and communication in this time of COVID is really, really important. I found this interesting. Robert Half provided this information about COVID-19. So I'll go through it very quickly, but again, you could read it at your leisure, but it gives you some ideas of what some of your employees may be thinking about. For example, parents' perspective, 20% of parents who are working from home are more likely to say that their work-life balance has improved. 85% of people who have been working remotely are thinking that allowing employees to work from home more frequently would be a great idea. So that's 85%. So as you're replanning, think about what you're going to do about work at home. You know, are you going to allow it, and to what extent? All the time, some of the time, and you'll need to create policies that are clear on that. Having better cleaning protocols, 73%. So these are the top two that I want to mention to you as you're returning staff back to work, and the safety measures. I said I was going to share a little bit about the Rev Up Approach. And the Rev Up Approach is something that I've articulated now that I have my own company, but it's what we did to really help make iTrans the kind of work culture, the kind of challenging career that really helps people develop. And it's an acronym. So Rev Up, you know, has a great connotation of revving up your team, revving up your staff, revving up yourself. But Rev Up stands for five values that I truly, truly believe make a difference. The first is respect, and respect helps build trust. The second is equality, treating people as equals, that their roles are equally important. And in these COVID times, we know that our frontline workers are so valuable. That's what we mean by equality, and that's what we did at iTrans. The third word is valued, as in I value you. Because when you value somebody, they really feel more engaged. They feel that you care about them, so they will want to do more because they know you think about them and you understand who they are. And that leads me to the next one, uniqueness. We are all unique. And when you understand what that person's strengths are and their limitations, that you can tap into those strengths and then tap into that potential. So imagine what can happen in this time of COVID if you started to adopt a set of values like Rev Up. That will make a difference to you being a better manager, having more engagement in your workforce. So that's a concept that I would love to share with you. One other thing I wanted to share with you is the key questions that you need to think about as staff are returning to work. So here's scenarios as people are returning to work, and you need to think about how you'll handle these responses. And if you're interested, the session that I did last week, both sessions were on difficult conversations. So if you're interested, do send us an email and we'll make sure we get you a copy of the difficult conversations. It's on my YouTube. So the responses you'll get are, some will be ready to come back to work, and that's great. Some will want to stay home with their families, school age particularly, or elderly, and they're afraid that they'll be exposed to COVID And if this is the case, people can stay off work for this reason, because in Ontario specifically, there is legislation that nobody can be terminated because they are doing certain things related to COVID, and staying at home with your children is one of those. Some may want to stay on CERB because it's financially not worth it for them to return to work. So you may need to figure out, you may have to do some number crunching, but you may need to figure out how to respond to that one. Some may refuse, citing unsafe to work, and I shared with you that scenario already. Some are very anxious and hesitant to return to work. And if they're in a situation where their mental health is affected, this may be cause for a more serious discussion and a duty to accommodate them. And then some people may have health issues in general, like a chronic respiratory problem, or heart problems, diabetes. These may be situations, again, where coming to work, they may not be able to do so. So you need to think about how you'll handle each of these possible responses. So I want to summarize now and just remind you that in crisis, there is opportunity. So you need to think about meeting guidelines, thinking about safety, adaptability, looking at access of supplies, staff, space, and looking at communication and marketing plan. I want to share with you, we do have upcoming presentations. EP15 is going to be on how to maximize your group book benefits and understanding what some of the changes are and some of the ways you can save money. Next Friday, I will be doing how to keep your staff and clients safe when you reopen. So really, today was focusing on people and the communication skills. Next week, I'll really dive in and talk about the safety of your staff and your clients as you reopen your doors. And the following week, we are going to have my friend and guest, Helen Patterson of Life Works Well. The two of us will have a kind of a discussion on mental toughness and resilience for you and your staff. So I want to open it up to questions. Jenny, have the people put any questions in the chat line, or does anyone want to come forward?
No questions for now. If anyone would like to say unmute themselves and speak, feel free to do so. Otherwise, also put some questions in the chat.
You may want to ask me about what if scenarios and how would you handle it. While we're waiting for some more questions, I want to share how we can help. As I mentioned, how you present yourself during these COVID times is important. And as I said, one of the things we wanted to do was to start these webinars so that people had a place to learn more about what was happening and to tap into my experience through our businesses and the work that I do. And so as we were thinking about it, we decided that, wow, we have an opportunity to help those in our community, because we do have that understanding of what lies ahead and what decisions you make. We know some of those ramifications. So rather than reacting, get some advice. And so one of the things we've offered is a 2-hour retainer package for $300. This is where you get, you can call us, you can text us. It can be one call that takes 2 hours, or 5 calls that take, up to 2 hours worth of time. And we'll share with you how we can help you navigate these very difficult times. So for 2 hours, it's $300. And we do offer right now an added bonus of 30-minute strategy call on top of the 2 hours for those who, that would help me get to know you better and really give you some real tips and to help you through, to help you through the more difficult times. One of our clients actually said, thank goodness, this half hour has made such a difference. We're going to actually feel like we can go to sleep tonight. For the first 10 people, I have this added bonus of, for the first 10 people, we'll send you our HR self-assessment audit. That way, all the things you should know to be considering as you're developing your policies and procedures and following occupational health and safety and WMIS and how to engage your employees. Any questions so far?
Yeah, we have one. So one of my employees requested for a leave of absence when I recalled him back to work. First of all, is that legal? is that the same as refusing to come back to work, or and what should I say to him?
Okay, so a leave of absence in normal times, and therefore in COVID times, somebody could ask for a leave of absence, and a leave of absence would mean that they would not be paid. So yes, I think adaptability was one of the dashboards. You need to look at each situation individually. Why is this person requesting a leave of absence? But during that leave of absence, my understanding, they will not be eligible to collect their whatever they would be entitled to, for example, CERB, because it is a leave of absence, unless it's a leave of absence for medical reasons, and then they could continue to stay on CERB. My feeling is that we all need to be adaptable. You probably could not afford to have all of your employees come back, so being adaptable to the different needs is a good thing, because it's goodwill. It's goodwill for the future. And when we get through to the other side and it's a new norm, those people that you cared about, that you showed you cared about and understood, will be loyal and thankful. Those that you kind of made uncomfortable will say, as soon as I find a better job, I'm out of here. If you want to come forward and have a bit more dialogue on it, I'd be happy to talk about it. But as I said, each person you're going to talk to has a different scenario. And there's a term called duty to accommodate. And when a person comes forward with a concern, and particularly when it relates to human rights and treating them, with equality and understanding people who have disabilities and challenges, we do have a duty to accommodate. And the further term on that is up to and including up to undue hardship, which means if my duty to accommodate somebody is to build an elevator because I don't have access for a person who can't walk up my one flight of steps, that would be prohibitive if I was 5 people. I just couldn't afford that. But if I was a big company that had 1,000 people in it, that would be something that I would be able to afford. So I hope that answers your question. Happy to hear you talk more about that. Did I answer the question? Sounds like it did. Any other comments? Anybody want to come forward with any questions? I ended the session or the slides.
No questions so far. If anyone would like to unmute themselves again, please feel free to do so.
Well, I think it's very, very difficult times. We do have 2 more minutes, so I will just add, it's important to balance your life and to make sure you have enough self-care, because I think when you allow the stresses of the business, the stresses of your family life to get beyond a certain level, say 4 to 7, whatever the barometer. If you get to that 8, 9, and 10, you become so stressed in however exhibits, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical, you cannot focus, and you need to, and the decisions you make take twice as long, 5 times as long, or they're scattered, or there's indecision. So find it every day to find the things that help you get that back down to the comfort zone. We all live with stress because, as Hans Selye says, the lack of stress is death. No stress is death. So the reality is we'll have stress, but it should be what he calls eustress, a healthy, euphoric kind of stresses. That's what the term eustress stands for. So keep that in balance. And if that means walking, that means having a Zoom chat or calling your best friend, writing something down on paper, whatever it is, find that in yourself and make sure you stay healthy and you focus a bit of time for your self-care. It doesn't look like there's any questions. No one seems to want to come forward. I really do thank you for taking the time, and I wish you much success as you open up your business in whatever form that is. So thank you for joining me. Stay safe. Have a great weekend, and I was going to say God bless, but take care. Thank you. Bye. Okay, I'm going to close it down now.